listening to the Technical Staff and Theatre Workers podcast. It's the podcast in which I talk to people who work backstage in the technical theatre industry about how they got in, their experiences, and any advice they can give to anyone getting in. This is episode 9 of season 3. A big thank you to everyone who's downloaded the show, everyone who's listening to the show. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell everyone you know who's interested in theatre and those who aren't interested in theatre, because it might make them interested in theatre. Yes, thank you so much for all the downloads. It's been really good so far, so really enjoying it. And without further ado, let's get on to our next guest. I'm with my guest at this time. If you'd like to introduce yourself and tell me what your current job title is.
Hi, I am Danny, and I am a wardrobe assistant on the Book of Mormon.
Excellent. How did you get into theatre?
I have always loved theatre in general and always sewn. And then when it got to sixth form, I was deciding what I was going to do at uni, whether it was going to be fashion or costume. So then I went to uni in Huddersfield and did a 4-year degree because it had a sandwich year in it, which meant that I could do a year of placement work.
Excellent.
And then from there, from my placement year, then that got me contacts and jobs to get into theatre.
Oh, fantastic.
So, yeah.
Oh, that's good. Huddersfield, so are you from the north originally? Or?
I'm from Birmingham.
Right, okay. So not too far to travel.
No.
Good, that's good. It's interesting that you said you've always sewn.
Yeah, my nan taught me to sew from a very young age because it was just what she did. That was one of her jobs. And then, yeah, I think I've been sewing since I was a little girl, and then just loved it at school. Did it for GCSE and A-level, and then uni. So,
oh, excellent.
Yeah.
So what was your first job in theatre?
Paid
job.
Technically, it was a few days during my placement year on Scrooge and Musical. I was doing my placement there, which was all unpaid anyway. And then at the end of it, someone was going on holiday for the weekend. So they just said, well, you've learnt the track. We'll pay you. Do you want to do it? I was like, sure.
Oh, excellent. Oh, where was this?
At the London Palladium.
At the Palladium?
Yeah,
oh,
so that was
wow.
great. But then after that...
That Tommy Steele?
Yeah. So to have, like, your first paid job at the Palladium, even if it was, like, 2 days, was great.
Still good.
Yeah, and then I did placements at the Birmingham Hippodrome, because that's where I'm from. And I just said, how do I get a job here? And they just said, apply through technical. And then I just started working as a dresser there.
Excellent.
So my first job, proper longer job, which was still only 3 months, I think we did.
Yeah.
But that was Lion King, the first UK tour.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. And give us a list of other jobs you've had.
Oh, gosh. God, it's been 10 years now. Hippodrome, I was there for about 3 years, so you have so many different shows coming in because it's a touring venue. So we had Lion King. Well, yeah, we always do cash changes there. Oh, it's a great theatre.
It was a nice theatre.
Oh, it's gorgeous. We did Lion King, did Wicked, Mary Poppins, Dirty Dancing, Ghost. That was at the Alex, I think.
Oh, that's not a nice place.
No, the Alex isn't great. That's a lot smaller. And then I did a stint with BBC Doctors.
Oh, wow, okay.
For about a year, which was actually really fun. Very different environment. But
so what were you doing on Doctors then, or was it? So
the job title there is, like, the lowest one you go in as is a wardrobe mistress, whereas in theatre that is one of the highest.
Yeah.
So that's a completely different thing. But with being there, I was basically in the workroom, steaming all the costumes ready for the next day, washing things, putting stuff away.
Right.
Because it's all... With Doctors anyway, it was all filmed in Birmingham, and it was mainly all done in that little building.
Right.
So it just meant that everything could be in and out constantly.
Right, okay. And I suppose for continuity's sake, it needs to all be...
Yeah.
So how does working in TV differ to theatre then, would you say?
You have time to stop. And
right.
I think with theatre, if something goes wrong during the show, you just got to fix it and get on with it.
Yes.
So the adrenaline kicks in, which I prefer. Not that I like things going wrong, but I just think...
You also find ways around things.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think with TV and film, I mean, I've just done Doctors, but it's a a bigger process when you're doing it, I think. There's a lot more people involved in a smaller space to get it going.
Yeah.
Whereas theatre, everyone's dotted around and it's the same thing every day. We're doing that same show every day.
Yes.
Whereas with Doctors, we had 3 different episodes being filmed in one day.
Oh, right.
So you've got to then block it out with getting the costumes for different blocks to know what they were wearing for the next
at that point.
Episode.
Yeah.
But it was all in one day.
Right.
So that was quite interesting because then you're just clocking and just making sure you know what they need when. And then if they go back to the first episode at the end of the day, you've got to travel that back to make sure they get into that.
Oh, wow.
Which I suppose is a similar thing to how we do it dressing-wise. They might go back into a costume.
Yes.
So as long as... But you've just got to make sure the continuity is still right with TV.
Right, okay. I suppose continuity in theatre is not really a big issue.
No. There's a few things. Like I know with Hamilton, because that was the last thing I did, and I did that for 6 years.
Sorry.
That's all right. But we had a continuity with the veil.
Right.
So if the veil... Because if anyone hasn't seen Hamilton, there is the scene where they reverse the ball.
Right.
So if you don't get the veil on in that first bit, when you reverse, you can't put it back on because continuity is completely off.
Right, okay, yeah.
So we had that. And so then sometimes the veil would fall off and it's like, well, it didn't make it on, so you cut it for the next bit.
Right, yeah, of course.
So that's the only way I've seen continuity in theatre. Personally, I've not. That's the only one.
Excellent. So, being a woman, I've asked this to a few people who worked in wardrobe. Wardrobe is still seen as sort of the woman's domain, especially in theatre. I don't know if it is in TV, but especially in theatre, it still is seen as, for some reason, I don't know why. Do you think that's changing at all, or do you still think it is sort of that, the men do the technical side and the women do the wardrobe? And
I think it's starting to change. I've seen a lot more men in wardrobe than I used to when I started.
Yeah.
But then I suppose I worked with a handful of HODs that were men. Most were women.
Yeah.
Whereas now you just see a lot more male dressers.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's definitely changing.
I think it's mixing.
Not as drastic.
It's sort of mixing a lot more, but I think it should certainly be better.
Absolutely.
Have you found any issues in the industry, being a woman, being from Birmingham? Have you found any issues, anybody holding you back at all, or not naming any names, but have you seen, sexism or anything like that within the industry?
I don't think in terms of getting jobs at all. I think it's always just been done on ability and personality of whether you then gel well with the rest of the team.
Yeah.
Like if you're coming into a job or if they're just trying to find people in general. But I don't know. I don't think all HODs I've worked with have never not employed someone.
Right.
Or not given them the chance or anything. So it's never been which is good.
Good.
They definitely need more. But we just need men to apply.
Yes, of course. Absolutely. That's the stigma, isn't it?
Yeah.
People assume they won't get jobs because of who they are or what colour they are or anything like that. So they won't apply, but then they can't get the job because they've not applied. So there's a whole roundabout thing going on. What would you say are the pros and cons of this industry?
Oh, the cons, I can give you those straight away. You don't have a social life. Well, you do, because the job is social. So then there's also that.
Yeah.
The job is social, which is lovely, but you work evenings and weekends. So then you don't have that. Like all of my best friends, one live in Birmingham, but all are teachers.
Yes.
So I miss out on quite a lot in that sense.
Also, a lot of the time, certainly if they're teachers, a lot of the time their quiet points are your busy points.
Yeah.
Because things like Christmas and summer and, they're a lot busier for us than they are for them. So it's the opposite.
Just Christmas in general. Like we are lucky we have Christmas Eve off and Christmas Day this year.
And we get 1 day off a week, whereas teachers get 32 weeks a year off.
Yeah,
or it is, or.
I know.
Not saying that teachers don't work.
Oh no, they definitely do. But that's the side of it where you have to know what you're getting yourself into to come into the industry. That you're going to lose that, and it's just going to be more of a fight. But then it's such a beautiful industry. I wouldn't change the world. For why I get into it and why I do it, because it has its moments. You get stressed like any job, but it's such a joyful thing to be a part of.
Yes.
And I love it still.
Yes, and it provides the escapism that people need, especially these days.
Oh, definitely. You're definitely lifted, this show is very different to when I did Hamilton. That's a very heavy show, but you still have people come in for the enjoyment of it.
Yeah. People still love it.
Yeah, no matter what you're in, you do it for a reason.
Excellent. What would you say is a common misconception of somebody trying to get in the industry? So if somebody's trying to get into the industry that you've seen, what did they think it might be that it isn't?
Oh, I think with wardrobe, people just assume that it's a lot easier than it actually is. There's a lot more work behind the scenes that goes on.
Yeah.
We spend a lot of time washing costumes, ironing. People don't think of that.
Yeah,
everyone thinks it's so glamorous. Oh my God, you work in wardrobe on the West End. Great, yeah, I do. But also you're constantly dealing with people's sweat.
Yes.
Then you've got to wash everything. You've got to iron it. You've got to prep it. Things break constantly, which people don't realise. People just see it as it happens and it's all magical, which it is, but there's also then 5 people running backstage, moving things or getting it off from one side to then go on to the next side and then back again.
Yes.
And I think,
also with wardrobe, I noticed that you're either miles away from everything, shoved right at the top of the building, or you're underneath the stage, right at the bottom of the building with no natural light, no windows. Yeah. So that can be no fun.
Yeah, I think I've been in a mix because I did half a sixpence at the Noel Coward, and we were 3rd floor or 4th floor, and stage was on the bottom, one below the stage door. So then you had that jump, but then the quick change was obviously next to the stage, so then obviously no windows, nothing.
Yeah.
I think we had one little window in the laundry room there, and then at the VP, which is where Hamilton was, we were on top floor again, with stage being at the bottom, and there was no crossover at all there, so you had to go. If you wanted, so we were on the ensemble side, but if you wanted to get to the principal side, you had to go down 4 flights of stairs, along a corridor, to then back up another 4.
Yeah.
So then if anyone was missing anything, that's a hard slog. Whereas here, we're in the basement.
You're in the basement,
with no windows, no natural light. And that can be a bit soul-destroying.
Yes. So you're always seeing a member of wardrobe carrying costumes up or down flights of stairs.
Yeah.
Which is why you probably all end up with shoulder trouble.
I know, honestly.
What advice can you give to somebody who's trying to get into the industry?
I would say if you want to get in, know exactly what you're getting into, because it is a big life shift. Train, put that work in, whether you want to dress, if you want to be in wardrobe, which is more sewing based, get those skills up, put that work in. Most people say you don't need to go to uni anymore for it, but I think it's a good thing to have. But what I would say more is do those placements. That was the most valuable thing I ever did, was doing that year of placement.
Get work experience.
Yeah, and it taught me how to dress, because then I was doing so many different shows within that year.
Yeah.
Everyone dresses differently, so it completely gave you what works, what doesn't, how different HODs work, how different shows work.
Yeah.
So that was the most valuable thing I learned, was that placement year, or just starting in a receiving house.
Yes, absolutely.
Because you then have that grasp of a quick turnaround or a quick learning how to do a show, because a show comes in and you learn it that day and then you're doing it that night.
Yeah.
Whereas most West End shows, you tech for a
Weeks,
week,
at
or
least.
a week or two maximum, and so then you
do the, if you have changes, you do them over and over until you get it right.
Yeah. Whereas a receiving house, you do it that day and it happens, and then in 2 weeks' time you do another one.
Yeah.
So I think if you want to get into dressing, start in a receiving house. If you want to get into wardrobe, go somewhere. Yeah, placements, do sewing skills. Go do a course. Like, you don't even need to go to uni. You could go and do sewing courses.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Brilliant. And that's everything I've got.
All right.
Thank you very much for
No
joining me.
worries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Big thank you to Danny for that one. Interesting take on that. Go and get some work experience. That's a very good piece of advice there. Thank you so much for listening to this. Thank you so much for downloading it. It's been really great. Really loving it so far. And long may it continue. Thank you to all the guests that have been on. And I shall see you all next week.